Yeah,
No.
Quack sat there. You can't come on Salt Mine and be like, "Oh, I just wasn't hungry on yellow mustard," and then come on here and be like, "It was
I also
rancid as
wasn't.
hell."
I also wasn't hungry. Like legitimately, I
So you
wasn't.
can't have your pie and eat it too, man. Like, so what is it?
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Salt Mine. This is Season 5, Episode 9, coming in after a quick break week. I'm Gordo. I'm joined by Quax and TDS, and we are joined by special guest, ball knower, NA amateur veteran, public enemy number 1 of the NACL Twitter account. It's Seanatonin. Sean, how are you doing, man?
OPTSM, wow, sorry.
Oh, yeah, OPTSM fan.
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. I appreciate it. It's always an honor to be on these kind of things, and love what y'all are doing. Great acronym, obviously. So I guess that's kind of fitting that I'm here.
That's true. It's about time. It was you locked it in a long time ago choosing a screen name. We didn't realize it. Nobody realized it at the time, but good to have a TSM fan on board. So you and Quax are back from CLOL finals, as is Slayer, who can't join us right now. How was that, guys? I'm gonna give you a soapbox for a minute just to talk about CLOL finals and how that went. Maryville 3-0. That's always good. Happy to have that org come in and get themselves another title after half a decade. It's been a long time.
Yeah. I had a lot of fun personally at CLOL. This was like my first time going to a event. And I do know that the production for the CLOL final was a little bit controversial. Like while Sean, Yanni, Slayer, and a plethora of us were hanging out in the college at NC State and vibing, it sounded like a lot of people were not having a super great technological time listening to the stream because of audio issues and just overlay issues. But that didn't distract me personally from having a ton of fun. I mean, we could barely fucking hear Hawk and Grapes, by the way, but it was still, I felt like the gameplay almost spoke for itself. It really did feel like Maryville were just a titan throughout the entire top 32 CLOL championship. And I mean, it was predicted that Maryville were going to win. There were people like me who actually said that Ole Miss had a chance, especially after that their most recent showdown in CLOL. But I think the biggest takeaway that I had personally from that series was I felt like there was a sense of continuity or just continuum for the program of Maryville, because like think about the players and like their trajectory, right? Like Zamudo is probably going to be going to the LTA. There have been some rumors floating around that he actually already is signed to an LTA organization. But I feel like even if people didn't know that, it's not a surprise. Spyrax has publicly said that he doesn't want to go to the LTA. Sajed is probably, like, I would say a year out of multiple orgs considering him. I mean, fucking Double Lift said that he was LTA ready. And then Zyko, this is last semester. This was his last CLOL run with the boys. So this is like the last dance or one of the last dances for a lot of the players on this current squad. And so I like that we have players like Shimmer who pop off in this series and show you that this program still has, you know, the ability to take new players and grow them as time goes on, because his improvement has been, I think, really cool to watch over just the course of this semester. So it was really cool to see all that culminate in a fucking Warwick pick where he just absolutely bashed Ole Miss.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I think actually the night before, Quax did say 3-2 Ole Miss in our hotel room.
I did.
And I said I would love 5 games, but I do think it will be a Maryville 3-0. I didn't see it happening the way it did, but you know, shout out to one Ole Miss as well. Like, I mean, like they got all the way there. You know, kind of, it's so weird because like the Jekyll and Hyde of both them and Winthrop, whether if they were playing an NACL or like the Saturday crew or the Sunday crew, essentially, like, is what it sort of felt like. Oh no, weekends versus weekdays is what Shibby was talking about when I talked with him. It's like if it was on the weekends, Supernova / Ole Miss was doing better, but if it was during the weekdays, Winthrop somehow was doing better in NACL. So it was just weird how that kind of happened, but unfortunately, 3-0 right there. Definitely shout out Shimmer with the Warwick pick. We were all howling every time. That
Yup.
was pretty fun. Adam yelling out "Happy ABG Saturday" to Collimer at the very beginning, which is clipped in eternity on Riot Games channel. So that lives on forever, which is great. So just really good memories. It's the reason, CLOL is my first and true love. Love it so much, and just I'm kind of sad that it's like now I have to wait until fall for CLOL again. But luckily, some of these teams and some of the players are still gonna be playing as we get into the rest of NACL playoffs with Dark Zero still playing, and then seeing some of those players going into summer as well for the second split of NACL. So overall, lots of fun.
Yeah. No, it was a good time for sure. I will also say that Raleigh was a generally nice city the day of, because the best of 5 was so goddamn early for whatever reason. We got to escape very early and just kind of meander and roam around Raleigh, so that was a lot of fun as well. And I will say, though, that I do think that, a lot of people are obviously going to look at a 3-0, and then the team that got 0 wins, Ole Miss, are probably going to be looked down upon a little bit. I still think this team is extremely good. I think it was some people on Maryville were saying that it's totally going to be them next year, because as I've already mentioned, most of the players on Maryville are probably not going to be here next year. It's going to look like a different roster and potentially a worse one. So I do think that Ole Miss, if they just keep up their form, should definitely be returning with a vengeance next year. And that'll be a really fun storyline, I think, for the casters and talent and everyone who's still around and anyone who is yet to join to really harp on, because it's going to be a fun one for sure.
Yeah, to kind of wrap up the end, it's like that was the end of the first decade of CLOL. That was the 10th championship. And Maryville being in, I think, 7 of those 10, and then coming away with 3.
Goated
Or no,
program,
I
goated
think
program.
6 out of 3, I believe, if I'm actually not mistaken. But it's one of the two.
Is that exactly T1 numbers? I think that's
yeah, almost. But T1 won 6, or no, they won
in the first 10 years though. They
Yeah,
won
yeah.
3, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So and that was, we were drawing comparisons to Green Bay Packers sort of stuff with even though they were 3, more consecutive and not with giant gap. But for that, as well as, we saw Quax was talking about, Ole Miss maybe getting stronger. They just had some of their tryouts streamed even recently. And then the landscape of CLOL is going to be changing a whole lot. We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know if PG Tech's going to continue on. I think they are contracted until next year, but just we wrapped a bow on the first decade of CLOL, and I hope to be on the salt mine in 10 more years when we're wrapping up the second decade. So
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, after NA finally wins their first Worlds, and then CLOL is one of the best competitions in the world. That sort of time. Are we looking forward to that?
Yeah, imagine when we have the first CLOL champion also win Worlds. That's what's gonna happen.
Yeah. It'll be good. It'll be a good little pairing there, and the CLOL Championship's the bigger prize, right? It's
of course.
Of course. It's like LCK.
It's where the true fans are at.
Like LCK in 2014,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, yeah, that was great. 2014 LCK. Yes.
Oh man, yeah, that was good times. Good times. Anyway, well, so we can take Maryville right into Dark Zero here. We're gonna go out of chronological order just because I think it's cleaner to talk about it this way. Because we missed last week, so we got 2 weeks of NACL playoffs to talk about here. Upper bracket finals to qualify a team to the grand final happened this past week. That was Dark Zero versus Luminosity. It is a 3-1 win for LG.
Yeah.
As Dark Zero kind of comes in, there's some discussion to be had. CLOL Championship was probably first thing on their mind here. They're still relatively recently without Yuji. What are our big takeaways from this series?
I feel that's the biggest factor for me. Just quickly mentioning, I think that's the biggest factor for me. The lack of Yuji is what I take out of this, because even though I don't think Shimmer necessarily performed bad, like I don't think the problem was Shimmer, but at the same time I feel that the problem is the existence of Shimmer in the team with the context that they have right now. Because like I don't think Shimmer is a bad player. I think this is a team that obviously had Yuji in mind and trying to readapt in the middle of playoffs to go from MVP candidate tier 1 or top 2 junglers to a potentially top 5 jungler. I don't think Shimmer is below that or around that level pretty much. But like it's still a pretty big difference, and Tomio is no one to scoff at. Like he may not be the biggest prospect you're looking out for, even though I still think he's really good. But he's still really good, and he can contest against almost any other jungler. He's not going to suffer against the top junglers, and he's going to be able to outperform you if you're not a top jungler either. So I think that was an important difference for me, but also in the way that Dark Zero does play. You could see it in the difference from the first game to the second game. I feel like if they don't get really far ahead early on, it does hinder on the way that they play, because I feel like they are not accustomed to having Shimmer taking some of the roles that Juji did take at the time. And this does mean that players that probably weren't stepping up, or not necessarily stepping up, but weren't really that out there, need to be out there in that sense. So, for example, I think Samuda was already doing it. But I do think that the mid-jungle duo is much weaker comparatively. I do think that Spyrex needs to do something more compared to when he was with Yuji. And then the bot lane needs to be even more active to try and cover for whatever Shimmer wants to do or whatever Shimmer wants to try and look for. So those dynamics are going to be corrected. I feel like going forward, they should be getting stronger. So as long as they don't like de-evolve even more, I still see them more than likely on the grand finals against someone in the current podcast.
And I mean, taking away from DZ for a little bit and kind of focusing more on Luminosity, I think it was really cool to see Luminosity kind of flex a little bit with their champion pools. One complaint that I've had about Luminosity is, other than Insanity, this is a team that plays like extremely standard comps. Like usually you'll see like tactical on like engage dive, like DPS, like Tristana is obviously, I think, his most well-known champion for better or for worse. I'm never going to drop that. And then obviously you've got like Fate God. He's got his own champion. Zazol is primarily engagers. And then like Tomio is kind of the Pantheon merchant. But this series I think was really cool because we got to see Tomio go for things like Zed. We got to see Insanity go for things like Vigar, which I thought was really, really cool. So I do think that this probably shores up my biggest concern with LG, not just in NACL, but like at this point, I think it is definitely worth thinking beyond NACL for a lot of these like top 3 big teams, like Luminosity in particular, with Shimmer gone, or not Shimmer, with Yuji gone, sorry. I think that Luminosity are probably most favored to be battling DSG for that spot. And I think that if they are able to kind of flex outside the box a little bit, they become a lot more unpredictable. And I think it definitely throws Disguise for a curveball and everyone else in NACL for a curveball. So I'm glad to see that they're expanding their pools a little bit. That second game as well was absolutely brutal. 19-0 in kills. I just have to put that out there. Like this team really can like just grab you by the throat and bury you under. I was really impressed with how they played that match.
Yeah, I think overall, like, maybe this is just cope, and I'm not like touting the collegiate line here, but I going on to different setups in a different room on the week of when like the majority thing, like, you know, you have a second life sort of thing, and you're still trying to get acclimated a bit more with Shimmer, which I think sometimes is a little bit overblown because like Shimmer is a smart guy and he just, you know, needs direction. I think Bach and y'all's one of the previous times I've heard him talk, like called him a, you know, all hands, no brain type of guy. And so like if he just gets direction, then it's fine. But, you know, he looked really, really good in the CLOL finals. Again, that's against another technical NACL team, but nowhere near the caliber of Luminosity. But those series, I will say though, I was surprised with that game too, and I did like Insanity's picks of like not only just the Vygar, but his Vladimir that he pulled out in game 3. I think was really really cool. I just like seeing Vladimir in pro play personally. But when it comes down to it, I don't think that there needs to be like any alarm bells going off for Dark Zero personally, or that this somehow will make Luminosity, at least in my eyes, the favorites. I think that Luminosity still, while they showed a bunch of new pocket picks and stuff like that, still plays pretty standard across the board. Not in a way that Near Airport did, to where it was like we're just going to open 3 lanes and scale and look to team fight you at everything, but that it doesn't really move the needle that much. That series almost felt like it was like some pomp and circumstance, because I think that whomever would have won that one, at least in the public eye, would have been favored to come back and like have the rematch again. So
yeah. I don't want to
I
harp
agree.
on Shimmer too much, but it does feel like a big kind of defining factor of this series is the back 2 games where Insanity gets to play mega scaling mages and suffers 0 ganks. Not that it's the easiest thing in the world to get out of the Vladimir, but I think the Vygar game especially, he like kind of just sits there one-on-one with Spyrax the entire game and comes in and blows everybody up later on. So it's a little bit rough from that perspective. I definitely do buy into the, focused on CLOL in a non-familiar area explanation, though, for sure, and that there is, some degree of you're in upper bracket, you're allowed to lose here. Like, I think it's very easy to just kind of take a bit of a break week here. I'm trying to remember what Maryville looked like around this time of their playoffs run last year, and I cannot remember. I feel like they...
You mean when they were in the first split or in the second split? 'Cause
Well,
it
in
It
was
was very different.
Yeah,
First
in the split that overlapped with CLOL.
First split,
They were already
getting...
done by CLOL, right?
Yeah.
So
but, like,
by this time, or by the time CLOL happened, I think they were in between splits of NACL.
yeah, I think so too.
Oh.
Because like first split of NACL finished when Fly Challengers at the time was the top team with Quad, and that was their domination, and they won. Then we
that
have
was
Maryville was second that
1st.
split. That was the first split with
yeah, no, but I mean like between that period, there was then the NACL 2, which that is the Dark Zero domination, and that started like I think at the end of May, start of June. That's when the LQs
So
2
yeah,
started.
the finals.
Yeah,
the
it was done by
finals
April
for
1st. You're right.
Yeah, it was done by then. So CLOL was way after. So they didn't have this kind of crossover, so to say.
And I'm pretty sure that like Maryville team of the second split was like, so like it was the same team. Pretty sure after their huge
it was
change
Zamudo
up.
in summer.
It was Zamudo instead of
So
Niles.
it was Niles. So it was
Niles in spring,
yeah.
Yes.
It was Niles in spring, but it was the first split was when the roster was announced that we were completely out of nowhere caught that they had a Spyrax and Judy.
Yeah,
and
we
then
did
they
our
put
power
in
rankings for Get Back and Odd Orange.
I will always have them against them because I hate being wrong in those things. But like that was the moment, and then the second split was FlyQuest without Quad, so that's why I remember the domination happening after that. That's why it impacted. But the main thing for the run was that it was like pretty after, like it was way too after Silo. Like they had complete and utter focus on their NACL run. I will also say, just like by remembering that now, this is like I understand the props into Luminosity, but at the same time, I do not see them as a favorite into a qualification just yet. Just because of the fact that qualification is still way too long to go. Like that's until what, September?
Yeah, there's going to be a whole summer split. This spring split.
Yeah, like there's one more split. So I still like, for me, Dark Zero are doing the good thing right now, which is playing for that summer split with a different jungler, trying to adapt him for that moment. Because like right now it doesn't really matter. So it's fine that they are adapting Shimmer already into that sense. I would be more worried, like Sean was saying. I am not worried right now. I would be more worried if one more piece goes away, or if 2 more pieces go away. That's when you get extremely worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on who those pieces are replaced by. Like I think the most likely fucking pieces to be replaced.
No,
are
I'm
obviously
thinking of a one that is extremely likely that he goes. I'm
Well,
I'm
I mean,
saying if
it's
there's
one that's
one more that goes, then
it's
it's
one more
doomed.
it's one more that's guaranteed to go. Zyko, who probably because he fucking.
But he would play the NA. I think he still plays the NACL though.
No, he probably would,
for
but
the
I'm
very
saying
least.
like after this split. But
Yeah.
I mean, I guess another series that I think we should talk about because we have a Conviction staff member currently on the show is Conviction versus Near Airport. And I will
Well,
say,
let's do the whole near airport run in like one go here, and we'll round out with letting Sean take his victory lap. I'm sorry to.
All right. I was gonna let him take his victory lap first, but sure.
Nah, it's not my victory lap. It's the boys. But yeah, let's start from the bottom because that is the most interesting of all the series, right? With all the hubbub that happened out of it, and it also went 5 games.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. Well, so it starts off with the easiest one to talk about. NA versus CCG. Little bit of a quick and easy one for the near airport boys there. I think all in all, still a pretty good first split for this CCG roster. A pretty good first split for CCG. As an organization, like this being their unlocked split, right, where they get to run a roster that isn't somewhat limited by who promoted in, although they got pretty free access to whoever they wanted anyway because their team got torn apart by FlyQuest and Cincy Fear and all the other teams last time. But all in all, I think worked out very, very well for them. I really like how they were able to bring this roster together through ACL in fall and kind of craft a team that they were comfortable with. That's really where they trialed, Array a little bit more, and that's where they got to try out Aojun, and they carried that on through. I think they should be happy with overall how this performance went, even though it does end with a 6th place, which is not exactly what you were hoping for when you started off. I still contend that on the right day they could have beaten Winthrop based on what we saw throughout the season, but that is not the style of bracket that they encounter here, and even the Dardoch Mundo at the end is not enough to put them out on top.
I will say, I think that this is a team that, and obviously whenever you look at teams that I would say had, I mean, I don't know what adjective CCG's management would use to describe this split, because obviously getting immediately KO'd in playoffs is, and if you're a competitive team, is not the, I think, ideal ending point. But I think if you look at it from like relative to like last split where they were extremely close to getting knocked out of NACL entirely, it definitely is a success. So I guess it kind of depends on where you put those goalposts. But it does sound like, to me, this is a roster that I would really like to see stick together personally. Like, I feel like they have a lot of potential, and I think that like Aojun was a really big surprise in the mid lane. I think Dardoch as well. From the interview that we had with him, it seems like he was like an extremely integral piece to this team's success. Like, he was more than just a player. He was a shot caller. He was their leader. He was kind of the guy that was, discussing with his teammates, and it felt like a super down-to-earth guy. So I'm really hoping that this roster at the end of the day sticks together or sticks together relatively complete. Like, I don't know if maybe 1 or 2 pieces are going to be moving. I've heard things, I've heard voices, but I do think that this roster, despite the ending that they had, should stay together personally. Like, I like this CCG squad a lot.
I agree. From like the pieces that are around and what they likely have available to them, I would think if you have the option to stick with this roster and kind of cross your fingers for like a big Aojun breakout in Split 2, I think that's a good approach here. If he takes another step up, if he stops dying in side lanes so frequently, I think that this team, easily can move on up to, top 4-ish territory. I think there's space to grow here. There's near airports to defeat if you can clean up that aspect of your play. Other thing about this series, Sushi comes in for the back 2 games and looks freaking incredible again. Like, Sushi's NAC already. I've seen enough.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was saying this even before this split, but oh boy, now I mean, Sushi's my boy, dude. That guy's so freaking good. He's yeah, I mean, if you count him as outside of the NACL, he's right up there with the Pulse guys as best players outside of the NACL right now in my book. Yeah, get him on a team, especially if some of these other rosters kind of blow up.
Which more than likely happens. So
Yeah, which more than likely happens.
Well, I was going to say, I don't think anyone should be making any roster changes until you know which teams actually promote, because there are some heaters of players in some of those OQ teams right now. So, but
we
yeah,
kind of
it's
do know who will relegate though. So like, you can kind of go off of that.
no. I mean, I'm never knocking anybody out before they play the games. Yes, there
Fair
are
enough.
likelihoods for sure. There could be some people who are getting run-in scrims right now that actually win, right? Because we can't go off of scrim results because scrim bucks are fake. You know, having Monopoly money, it's the same thing. But I will say for the CCG team, like I was trying to think of a word that Quax was thinking about for their upper management, and it's like to where you've come from, like previously, obviously it's an entirely different roster. Thank God you're nowhere near getting like relegation, but I think it's like a melancholic rise where like I think they definitely thought, you know, from the outside looking into them, just trying to be as unbiased as possible. I thought this team could reach top 4 status because they looked like they were playing really, really strong against some of these top teams, the three-headed Hydra that everyone talks about and stuff like that. And I do think they have some nice pieces in place. And, you know, again, I'm not even going to suggest any possible ones to go with because it doesn't really matter. I also like keeping continuity there. The one thing I will just mention, and this is for all orgs, is that if you don't feel like your team that you put together for the second split is one that can make it to the top 3, right, or the top 2 to be in that promotion relegation for the LTA spot, then I don't know if you should be looking to overspend or trying to like be like, okay, we're like your expectations need to be more realistic come this next one, because when you're in this spring split, you can experiment. TDS talked about getting Shimmer, all this different stuff, but have more realistic expectations about what you're trying to accomplish, because not everyone can make it to that promo relegation tournament. So,
Well said. Yeah, I think that's definitely true as well. So now we can get on to the fun one, the spicy one, which is the 5-game banger between Winthrop University and NA. Oh man.
Where do we even start with this one, boys? Do we start at the gameplay? Do we start at the controversy? Do
we
start
start at Reddit talking about NA Tier 2 is what keeps me awake at night, dude. I don't.
Your crusade against Reddit.
I can't.
Dude,
I
you're
can't.
Are
I
you still
can't let
banned?
any,
Are
listen,
you
dude.
still
I used to purge my soul by fighting with randos on a burner, and now I'm permabanned. So I can't do that anymore. All right? So I have to.
oh my
It's kind
god!
of
I was
poetic
too
justice.
critical of
You
the
were doing what
mods.
the Reddits were doing.
I was too critical of the mods on main, got banned, and didn't really think about it, and logged in on the burner later and got caught by Reddit's ban evasion algorithm. Which, you know,
Damn.
fair play to Reddit. You know, that's probably a good thing to have. Good that works. You don't want people just logging onto another free Reddit account and getting and resuming whatever activities they were up to in case it is a justified ban, which everyone knows any ban told out by the our League of Legends mods is not. But that's fine. I'm free on that side, but that means I'm unleashed on Twitter, and so I have to keep screenshotting these
That's also true.
posts and tweeting them and putting them in Discord servers and stuff. So, I mean, I guess it's just gonna be like that until morale
the end of
improves.
time. Yeah, I mean the Reddit discourse though, I feel like has been like, to me it's really hard to take, like, how I've always kind of pictured Reddit's analysis of anything is they're kind of like those people that I feel watch like the first 10 minutes of a game and then immediately come up with their own conclusion, or they watch a recap of the game and then draw their conclusion from said recap. They're the kind of people that, when they go see a movie, they just immediately go to the reviews and then leech their opinion off of said reviews.
Or they could be the kind of people that watch the movie through TikTok shorts.
Yeah. I seriously think that Reddit just does not have a mind of its own. And I feel like a lot of people that talked about this topic don't really have a mind of like a lot of the
we're getting too
normies,
presumptive about what our viewers know about the situation.
No, I know.
It's been talked to them.
Quax is saying the viewers know nothing and they're stupid. That's what exactly
what
I
right
read.
about that. But
I will say, not our viewers, the other viewers, not the Southmine viewers.
Yeah.
The rest of the viewers are the dumb ones,
real
not ours.
I mean, personally, like the whole it's tough to say something that hasn't already been said, but it's one of those things where it's like I feel like it is so difficult for people to just say it's everybody is partially at fault. Like everyone has to say it's black and white, it's someone's fault, and this person is completely innocent, and like this party is to take all of the blame, and this party should take none of it. Like, no, I think the onus is on the referees. I think the onus is on Pobelter, and I think that the onus is partially on Wu, because I understand when they checked the stream, it was already like everything had already been done. But like, I still think you should be smart and just not check it, because you should never put a target on your back for anything, because anyone is willing to jump after you, especially after their favorite streamer or favorite washed up pro, whichever one you decide to call near airport, made a mistake, because it was a legitimate mistake from Pobelter's part, and he even acknowledged it.
Yeah. Well, so, and what I was saying, the important context that I want to make sure the viewers have access to here is, the overall, in case you only read a Reddit thread and then came here, you probably have the totally opposite opinion of what occurred versus everybody here. So the pretty undisputed facts of the event from both sides are that Pobelter mispicked. They requested a remake of the draft to change their champion. They were granted that. Winthrop claimed that it was a error and not a mispick and not a client glitch, which first of all, by rules does not matter. Like I think that's the big mistake that Winthrop made here, is that is even getting into an argument about whether it's a client bug or a mispick when the rules explicitly don't care which one it is. And that's on the refs as well. And then, over the course of that discussion, they checked the stream VOD to see whether it is a mispick or a whether it was a mispick or a client bug. Which, yeah, probably the wrong move, but somehow that has exploded into copy pastas about the Winthrop coach cheating, which are getting reposted without context by certain large creators who then get into fights with me on Twitter for my entire night, and it's a whole mess. So yeah, I don't know. If you're coming here off of just Reddit, it's largely
welcome.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Like, it is pretty largely undisputed that they were, over the course of a significant period of pause time and with consent from the refs, checking the VOD, which a completely pointless exercise, by the way, which should have been shut down by any of these three parties, but nobody informed enough to do so, apparently. And yeah, it leads to this whole mess, which has already blown itself way out of proportion.
I mean, I agree. It was blown out of proportion because this was actually a banger of a series. Like, the games, and then they even, they lost the Anivia game, okay, the infamous Anivia pick, but, it also wasn't a bad pick into the comp it was going into.
I agree, it was overvalued.
Yeah,
Wish we never found out and that it just happened.
Yeah, but like it was a really, really. I was actually really worried for Winthrop because they lost with their game one comp with like the Senna. Like you see Senna, Annie, and Gwen, and you're like, oh, that's some really good stuff. We even got B1 vibes going on here. They have vibe, but then they lose, and I was like, oh man, that's a lot of firepower out the gate, and then you lose with it. But over the course of the series, Winthrop playing so well in like really, really clutch situations. And I'm not saying that game 5 was like really like a huge letdown for the entire series, but it did take a lot of the wind out of my sails with just kind of how strong Paul Belter came to play in that last game
Yeah,
on
Paul
that
Belter's a
rise.
beast, man.
Oh my gosh. And I actually thought that the Volibear pick was going to make TF Blade useless. Oh my god. But that did not happen. And as we know, near Airport 1, and it was an amazing series. And I would watch it back if you haven't seen it. It's really freaking good.
It was a bunch of
Yeah.
fun. Love to see Speako
Yeah.
busting out the Dardoch Dr. Mundo, finally getting that spread around the rest of the league. I love to see picks kind of cross-pollinate like that.
Agreed.
And yeah, I mean, I agree. A very, very fun series. Like, Pobelter has had a hell of a season, man. I think it's just...
I still say number one mid laner. I still stand by that.
Yeah, I've
Yeah,
heard
I've
heard
yeah.
people, there's some whisperings going on. There's other names being floated, and I think those names are more likely. But I have had, casuals who don't really watch NACL come to me and be like, "So is Pobelter going to be on DFG?" And I
No.
wouldn't mind it, to be
Let's
honest. He's
hope
not
not.
going to be, but I wouldn't mind it. I think that would be a fun little. If you want a veteran mid laner, I think Pobelter on DSG would actually be really, really fun. I think that would be. I think there's multiple reasons it won't happen, but I would actually be in full support of that. I actually think that might be. It probably would be better than what they're going to end up doing.
Yeah, I'd love to see Paul Belter back in Tier 1. I'd love to see their
Agreed.
mid jungle back in Tier 1, personally. But, neither here nor there really. But yeah, I don't know if there's anyone that would contest that point, TDS, of Paul Belter being the number one mid this split in ACL. He's been on a heater.
Yeah, he's just like watching him play when you're so if you want to see how good Fowelter is, like I wouldn't even say just the game five against Winthrop. I think in the there was one series that he played before. I don't remember the name of him, but he had one victory game in the season that was so good how he played that like I know victory is a strong pick and all that, but he had one victory game in the split that was just so impressed at how easy he made everyone just completely get destroyed by playing the champion. And
Hang on,
like to
I
me,
think
just
I've
watching
got you.
that just makes me believe that he like legitimately he's at a like he's here because he wants to, in my opinion, not necessarily because he cannot be in tier 1. Maybe there's outside factors that I don't know, but like to me it's just that he's playing in tier 2 because he wants to play in tier 2, because if not he could be in tier 1 100%.
I think it's a bit tough to say he could automatically make it to tier 1, especially after, like, the last time we saw him was on that fucking Bud Light Aced CLG squad, and I think that a lot of people, even after it's fucking 2025, and I think a lot of tier 1 GMs still have a bit of ageism in their veins. So I think that's another factor that
Yeah, I
probably
agree. I
holds
think
him
like if
back,
you had a
but-
computer to pick the top 10 mid laners in North America and put them in the LTA, I think Pobelter would be in there and would probably have never missed a season.
Yeah.
But computers don't pick, and only like 3 NA mid laners end up in the league. So I think those factors kind of end up pushing Pobelter out, and he gets
Yeah.
pushed out. I brought this up before, but I stand by it. Pobelter gets Pobelter left the LTA kind of kicking and screaming a little bit. Like, he did not retire voluntarily. He left making twitlongers about how the Oregoners only care about washed up imports. Like, he wanted to keep
He had
playing, I think.
his manifesto moment at the time.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he was largely correct, if a bit, internally inconsistent. in those statements. But you know,
But
it's.
the idea was right.
I would love to see
at
him
the
come
time.
back, though. I stand by what's been said
No,
here.
I would as well. I think that this split, he definitely proved that he should be in tier 1. Thing is, though, I really like, so it's been kind of announced already that the AD replacement for Scary Jerry for DSG is going to be Rahel.
Rahel, yep.
Rahel.
Yeah. And so, like, I don't know, man. I like
Swing and
whoever you
miss.
put in that. Whoever you put in that mid lane position, I feel like is not going to be enough to currently save your team. Like, it depends obviously on what Luminosity looked like at that time, because we're still a ways out. But like, I feel like this is going to be a person that is looked at to save an entire organization from relegation. And if they don't do that, everyone hates them. If they do that, then they have to remain in the LTA potentially, or just get straight up booted. Like, that would be douchey, but that might be like a legitimate thing. I feel like any situation, any scenario, any possibility that ends up happening for this DSG squad and whichever mid laner we choose, it's going to be shitty either way. So I would really prefer Pobelter not to be the mid laner, because I would like to see him on an org that is actually secure and not one that is quite literally grasping at straws.
Fair. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how
I
much
would agree with
choice
that.
he's going to have in the matter, but yeah, I mean,
Just say no, bro. Like
I don't know,
Toast-
dude. I just wish they would put somebody who's in the ecosystem on this, so that if they in these spots. I mean, I've beaten this point to death on this show before, but like, imagine if we're gonna replace Scary Jerry, we bring up another 80 carry from the NACL, and then Scary Jerry goes back to the NACL, and then whatever mid laner we bring up is from the NACL, and instead of Abadage, we had a North American mid laner who would also go back to the NACL, and then those guys will have LTA experience in our Tier 2 league, and more Tier 2 guys will get Tier 1 experience, and even if it doesn't work out, they'll bring it back to Tier 2. It's almost like we would start getting better, you know? It's almost like everyone universally
Gordo,
agrees.
I need to stop you. You're speaking too much logic right now.
Oh my god,
And that is for Reddit, obviously. So,
Anyway,
as you were.
as I
It's
was,
fine.
let's get the victory lap here, Sean. Let's talk about
Oh.
Conviction versus Near Airport, baby. Where
So, real quick, funny story before we get started. So Sean and I were actually at the hotel in Raleigh when we watched this fucking series, and the 1 HP Dragon Steel by Spica caused Sean's mouth to immediately open. He went, and I was watching, and I got up out of my chair and just paced around the hotel room for like 15 seconds. We both had like a fucking visceral reaction to that happening, but we also had a very triumphant reaction to Conviction winning. So again, yeah. Congratulations, Sean.
The ward, that bush is.
That was some bullshit.
Here, right? That bush is fucked. Okay, that's not on Kisno. But man, yeah, that. Oh god. Anyways, but yeah, Banana Bush always has been because of the way it works. But yeah, no, it's really, really proud of Bach and the boys. They have been working just so incredibly hard. I mean, I don't do anything, guys. I'm just a cheerleader. You know, like it's not. I get to wear the jersey, I get to cheer them on, and I get to reap whatever benefits that they have by being associated with them. But
do you
those
have an
guys
official
are.
title or no?
So when we transferred from Tempest into Conviction, I'm like kind of like an assistant manager, but like if there's no real official title because they already have a GM at Conviction, and they don't really do any other like esports, so it's just League. Whereas on Tempest, I was the League of Legends general manager, and then Trashy is still the same manager that was from Tempest. into Conviction, so he's still doing that, kicking butt with that, booking all the scrims and keeping vibes up as well. So no, I'm just my official title is Giga Omega Cheerleader, whatever you want to call it. Like I'm just really really happy to be a part of the organization, to be associated with it. I'm just also glad that me and Trashy's little thought experiment we had when the first promotion tournament, and then me being like, hey, we got to get Bach, and then everything just kind of ran from there, and y'all have had the conversations with him, so I don't need to regale y'all with things you've already heard. But really, really happy. And yeah, this series was, Quax knows from like watching me, it was like quite literally the only thing I cared about while we were all out there
We were having
eating.
fucking pizza, and this guy was just like watching.
I hate
Okay.
being that guy at the table who's like on his phone, but like these are my boys, and I am not missing this for the life of
Dude,
me. You mean to tell me
honestly,
we took 8 times give me your boba order versus 8-time LCS champion, and Chrome and the boys came out on top. All right, I was not
Yeah.
missing that for the world.
And I honestly was more invested in the
Give me your
series as
boba
well.
Chrome.
That's just me. Where
I
were
was
you
way
in
more
Raleigh
invested
when
in
this
the
happened,
series as
Sean?
well.
We were
at
at
dinner.
the pizza place. We were at
Yeah,
this place
pizza
called
place.
Yellow
We were at a
Okay.
pizza
Mustard.
place.
Can I say,
And-
last time I was in Raleigh, I also had to be that guy because of a League of Legends playoff series. I was watching
Yes.
Team Liquid Evil Geniuses, I think. No, I was
for
watching
what?
I was watching whatever that series, Danny's last series, Danny's last League of Legends series.
Oh.
I was watching on my phone
So
while
it
I was
was a
supposed to be eating a
qualification to
meal with some of my
Worlds, right?
stepmom's friends in Raleigh.
No, it
Just-
wasn't Worlds. He didn't. It was. I think,
No, but it
who
was the game
again?
that qualified them.
It was the
for
game that
Worlds.
qualified
so.
them to Worlds, and he stepped back after
Yeah.
that, and then never played another game of League of Legends.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
we
watched
were-
that series not knowing what was to come, and watching Danny Seraphine like bail them out and win the series. And
We were
lost
at
my
I
Yellow
also
shit.
will say,
with-
It really
I
sounded
was-
so anticlimactic, by the way. I was watching Danny's last game, and he pulled out the Seraphine.
I will.
Massive.
Listen, man, I can't
will-
change the past, but what happened happened. It's-
Yeah.
I will also say that like I was also super invested in the series, like more so than what we were actually doing. For like half of it, because like half of it I was talking with like Hawk and his mom, who was there as well. Super nice lady, by the way. But like, dude, the pizza was kind of fucking rancid. I can't even lie. And like, I'm sure the pizza was great. But, like,
Time out,
bro,
man.
shut up. Okay, listen, people watching. Does buffalo sauce with mayo sound appetizing?
It's not mayo.
What the fuck is it?
Blue cheese, you
No,
dingus.
okay, fine. Not any fucking better. Does buffalo with blue cheese on a pizza sound good to you?
I mean,
Because it
buffalo and
doesn't
blue
fucking
cheese is like a combo. So if you're gonna do one, you could do the
On
other
pizza?
on a pizza.
Yeah,
No.
Quack sat there. You can't come on Salt Mine and be like, "Oh, I just wasn't hungry on yellow mustard," and then come on here and be like, "It was rancid as hell."
I also wasn't hungry. Like legitimately, I
So you
wasn't.
can't have your pie and eat it too, man. Like, so what is it? It was either
Yeah, I
rancid.
can. This is the internet.
Oh God, whatever. All right, then get Quax's Reddit account right now. He's one of the ones making those. Someone go find him. It was the pizza was great.
Somewhere, somehow, there's a pizza podcast that's having my crash out right now about this
because
show.
of Quax's reviews of the yellow mustard. Oh, Jesus Christ. I can't believe you thought it was mayo. That's crazy. No wonder you thought it was bad. No, it's not mayo. You come up to Buffalo, where I am, get some buffalo wings.
To be fair,
and
you
some blue
try
cheese.
like there's if it's like a blue cheese dressing, there's probably mayo in there eventually if you like trace it up.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Point is, I was
I
way
was-
more
water
invested-
and every
I was-
alcohol too, Gordo.
I can assure you, I wasn't ready for this conversation at all today.
Point is, I was way more invested in a series of Near Airport losing and Conviction winning after I said that they could get third, over pizza that was it existed. I suppose.
When you were not hungry.
And I was not hungry. I mean, like, that day I literally only had Swedish fish. I don't know what was wrong with me, but like the whole day I was like, I can eat, but like I don't really feel like it. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
you just
weird.
wanted to sleep. That was the whole thing.
Because a blue
He just
cheese
wanted to
dressing, right, is blue cheese with ranch, right? And a ranch is mayonnaise.
I like how you're
buttermilk,
still
and a few
on the
other
fucking
things.
blue
So,
cheese or ranch dichotomy here, Gordo. We have like we're like talking about
I'm
the
just
series. And
saying,
you're,
like, there's.
I love it.
I'm defending you here, brother. I'm telling you.
I appreciate it.
There was
Technically, Gordo
mayonnaise in
wasn't
what you're
even
talking
there,
about.
so it's not like he could have experienced all of it. He needs to digest most of the things right now.
Well, bro, okay, like that, dude. What took me out of watching Conviction versus Near Airport was fucking Leo Slayer Silverman putting his like 5-foot like with hand on my shoulder, this like 6'5" giant just is like, what up from behind, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my fucking god. Like,
Yeah, that was pretty cool, actually.
it was literally like that one, you know, that one meme where it's like the like monkey looking at the camera and then the lion is like right behind him and is like
Yes.
about to like jump him. Yeah, that was like that. It was like that. That took me out briefly.
Man, I got you, Sean.
Okay.
That was like briefly what it felt like, and it took me out of the series. But I will also say, kind of going back into the actual series and not pizzas and Raleigh and Slayer being giant. I think one thing that really impressed me was like this is something else that I talked about with Luminosity, but it was like the diversity in draft. Like I really like how Dark Wings is able to just kind of go fuck it, we ball, like locks the Vigar. And it fucking worked. Like it kind of looked a little bit sussy at the start, but it scaled on up. It was really good. And like overall, they just looked better. Like I feel like, you know, usually when you look at something that can be considered an upset, you, especially in a best of 5, like one game is usually won by the lower tier team because of some like cheese pick or some cheese strategy or like a huge misplay for the favorite team. Not this time. It was like legitimately that, like, it was the case that Conviction was just better across the board. Like they play better League of Legends, and that is the most satisfying way, in my opinion, to get an upset done.
So maybe my only argument against it would be game 1, where I do think that NA kind of like threw. I think game 1 was the one game where I think that they probably kind of threw after one point. But after that, I do agree. Like I think Conviction all series long was playing to what their strengths were and how they wanted to go for it. So I just have props to them. Like I realistically think, or I thought initially this was a roster that I wasn't expecting for them to perform here. I was waiting for them on the next split. Because I do think that having someone like Hoarder in the team, for example, was going to be more impactful going into next split. Especially with all the setup that they were having, all the players like coming together. And I do think that having a coach like Buck and the way that the dynamic of the team was looking like, it was sort of like it feels like it was scaling on the long run, more so than for quote unquote immediate success. And I was expecting more power from them going into next split. But like this is still like their play style has been really good. They've been really consistent in how they've been going for most of their games with their idea. And I do think that particularly Chrome. I think Chrome has been playing one of the better splits that I think I've seen from him so far. Like he has been really, really good. And I'm excited to see if he can keep on that trajectory. Because like we said,
Chrome is a beast.
Like we said, like Double said, Jet is LTA ready. I would love to see, like, because I am more of the mentality that trial by fire. I don't really give a fuck if you, or sorry, I don't really care if you're like, what if you're just have
fuck on the show. It's alright.
No, I want to.
I'm
considering future sponsors, dude. I'm still money oriented. I think we need to get those sponsors eventually. So I will keep myself as PG as possible. But like. I would throw like I'm willing to throw whoever has played, be it 6 months or 2 months in tier 2, as long as I think they look good, into tier 1. And I would love to see any of the top 380 carries not named tactical in the LTA.
Yeah. I think they end up giving the MVP for this series to Chrome. I'm almost tempted to give it to Manui, man. I've been so impressed with Manui's
Dude, Manui has been
season.
such a shock this split.
He's so good, dude. He's such
not even no. Okay, I'm gonna rephrase it. Not a shock, a pleasant surprise, because it definitely has been pleasant to watch the man work. Like this is a team that so many people And Sean, you can flame us. We doubted you motherfuckers.
We had the conversation at the beginning of this season, which I got flamed about at the time.
Hey,
and
I
now
had
I'm really
I had
getting flamed
conviction the
about.
highest. I didn't doubt them much.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, but where did you
barely.
have them, GDS?
Hey, I had them in playoffs. I'm pretty sure. Wait, I think
don't
I think
Hang
they
on.
were in
I have them.
playoffs.
I have them somewhere. Give me a second.
I
But
think-
I actually don't remember, but I
I
think
have
they
it.
were in
Don't
playoffs.
worry.
Well,
Don't
you
worry. It's coming up.
Gordo's got receipts. It's
Yeah, I
fine.
do.
And
Yeah.
Man, I gotta
Point
dig
is,
for it for a
guy,
second. But I would
I
also
agree.
say, let me turn the convo for a second to just say, Manui Seraphine is back, baby. While I go look this up, they lose that game, but I don't care. It was still awesome to see.
yeah,
Mhm.
TDS, your question was: Did you said NA through in game one, or did you mean conviction through game one?
No, I feel like a little bit, and they threw in game one to what I was seeing. I
And they
think
won, though.
I think that was. Wait, that
Yeah,
was the
but
game.
that
That
was
was
the
the
game
game
they
where
won.
NA won. Oh, okay. So no. I mean the
Yeah,
next
yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah,
I got
okay.
the sorry, sorry.
TDS
But yeah, it was
had-
the next one that I feel it was. The
Oh,
case.
they were TPG at the time. TDS did have them in playoffs. He had them at 6th.
See, I they were in playoffs. I knew they were
The
going
rest
to
of
be
us
there
had
at
them.
the very
The
least.
rest of us had them at 7th.
Yeah,
Always
and
believed in
then
them.
your contemporary podcast had them at 8th with the group of 4.
Well, then
so.
we're more right than them. I mean, let's go, baby.
Oh, hey, let's go! Yeah.
You say that with sarcasm. I'm just unironically like, let's
No,
go.
I know,
We're
you're-
number
you're-
one,
you're-
baby.
you're-
There's no other
you're-
competition. We got it.
You're of the freak mindset where technically correct is the most correct or the only one that matters. So, no, I think our game one draft, like, I think it was just really hard to execute. But I mean, I'll just say I loved this series because I think everyone had good moments to show forth, and then especially that game 3 with the Vigar did not look good in the first 2 ganks where he dies, TP's back, dies
It was
again.
a bit rough at the start for sure.
That was great.
But when he catches TF Blade near the Baron Pit with the Event Horizon and pops him, oh my! I screamed a little bit. Yes, I did. I was
Yes, I
drawing
did.
attention to myself in public, and I did not care. And then, of course, to kind of seal it off, you cannot blind these supports versus Manui if he has stuff like the Soraka or Zillion available, and that Zillion was just really good, and Hoarder had himself a game in that one as well. It felt really good, but as we say, job's not done. What's there to be excited for? We still got to play against the aforementioned Dark Zero, and then Luminosity. If we're to make the run, which I know Manui himself does want to have happen in this fashion, to have beaten NA and then the other two, because then if and when, I'm a believer, so we were to win the split, we would have beaten every single team and not missed one. So
Yeah.
Nice.
Dude, that would actually I didn't even realize that. That would be fucking awesome. Wait.
yeah,
Let's go.
yeah,
That would be fucking sick.
I'm happy for CNV. I'm really glad that you guys, I needed a wrench thrown into this NACL playoffs. I feel
Me
like
too. It was getting a little stale.
And yeah, like with the loss of Yuji too, it was kind of like like Dark Zero doesn't quite have the sauce to go up against LG anymore, and like I still don't really think NA is on the level of the other two. And it's just like, oh man, it's just going to play out the rest of the way. Nice little CNV upset in there to shock the league back awake. That's good.
Hashtag WinCon.
Yeah, the more mix ups, the better.
Hashtag WinCons. Let's go, baby.
Let's
All right, so I'm real happy that they were able to yank that out. And now set themselves up for one final week. Oh man, you know what? I should have talked about this earlier because now I'm going to end NACL on a bummer. But before we move on to ACL, I've come to the realization I never saw any tickets about this, and the finals are the day after the lower finals. So I guess we're not in LCS studio for this NACL final.
That was confirmed like a long time ago. Like,
all right, I guess I
there's
totally
not gonna
missed
be
it, but that sucks.
I think
it's
before
going to
we
be
talk about-
for the
I guess it makes
promo
sense
tournament.
So I guess it does make sense because once again, it is technically like the worthless split, like quote unquote. I don't want to say it is worthless, but like the
double lift.
Yeah, so I will say I was one of the people that agreed with Double It on that take, so maybe that's why I am in the same mindset here. But like, it makes more sense that they give the studio for when the actual like final like the team that qualifies to the promotion tournament ends up appearing. I did think that makes sense more for me. But it would have been great if
I
they
mean, I think you
did
could have
get like a
very
normal finals.
you own the studio. I think you very
I think
easily
it
could have
would
had
be
it for
fair,
both.
but I understand. Like I get why, but I think it would be better.
Don't
I
buy
would
into
have
the
liked it
Riot
more.
mindset, TDS. You can have the studio for both. It was not a choice. It was not a trade-off. Oh boy.
All right. Should we talk about OQs? Because there was some development.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like I'm the only one who that was news to. So, all right, there should have been like somewhere like 8 episodes ago we should have had a rant about that, but I guess we missed that bit of news. Let's talk about ACL. Sean, are you down to hang out and talk about ACL?
Hell yeah.
Sweet. I know you've been paying attention. Some guests do ACL, some guests do not. If you are
I'm sure the whole ride.
We should make it a prerequisite that they come in knowing every team in the ACL and
that's
every
exactly
matchup.
what we need. We
Well,
need more gatekeeping for our guests on the Salt
You're
Line.
right.
That's what we
I don't
need.
think a lot of podcasts would
Look, we're
exist if they
going
knew
to be
everything.
we should be eventually the not the go-to, but one of the go-to tier 2 tournaments in NA. So I'll say that we should try and gatekeep to a certain degree, I think.
Next split. I will say for summer, I think I don't know how
It's
we're
a
going to
condition.
divide things up, but ACL content's going through the roof in summer. I'm telling you that much.
Yeah,
It's a
with
little,
that new rule. that'd
Yeah,
be
no
great.
spoilers.
yeah,
We got some stuff in the
not
pipeline now.
spoilers and not. We'll do some stuff. We'll
do some stuff.
We'll
Oh
do
yeah.
some cooking for sure, and maybe
Stay
some of
tuned.
it'll be on the official Aegis channel and less of it here. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We got to do our postseason breakdown, but let's get into. So the last time we had an episode, it had just been the upper round of 16. I believe that's where we were. Maybe it was before the upper round of 16.
I think it was just before playoffs started, yeah.
Okay, it was just before playoffs.
Just before, I think.
It was.
Really?
Yeah. This is our first playoffs episode.
Oh shit! There's so much to talk about.
I think we can just talk about the most. I think we should just talk about the most recent weeks.
Well, I was gonna just talk about the 2 rounds of lower bracket, but now we gotta at least talk about upper bracket a little bit too.
Yeah.
All right. We'll rush through upper bracket and then we'll talk about the elimination matches. So to rush through upper bracket, I'm just gonna do all 8 matches, and we can pick and choose stuff that sounds interesting to us. Citadel gets a 2-0 over Mint Gaming. Next Level Esports gets a 2-1 over Uncles. Dia Esports gets a 2-0 over Flippers. Apex Predators gets a 2-0 over Calamity. Galaxy Gaming gets a 2-1 over Legacy. Pookie Bear gets a 2-1 over Foxtrot. Prosperity gets a 2-1 win over UCI, and Conviction Star gets a 2-1 over Deathmark Esport. My first pick here, Prosperity 2-1 over UCI. We got to talk about UCI because this team.
Well, I think that was UC like that win over UCI was just a day.
Man.
Was just like 2 days before they actually lost. They lost in NACL OQs, I think.
That was almost
it was Friday.
That was about 5 days before they lost in NACL OQs, and then UCI plays their lower bracket match 2 days before they play OQs.
Oh yeah. They actually it was 5 days, 2 days. That was confusing them with the Monday. They didn't even reach Monday game. Yeah, they didn't even reach the Monday game. They got eliminated like consecutively.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I mean, props to Prosperity. I do think this team was slightly better than 10th seed coming in. This is the Icelandic hero.
Kongji. Yeah.
No, this team is a lot better than people give them credit for, because like they're I think Prosperity versus Conviction Star, wasn't that like an FF? So like technically they're lost.
I don't think it was an FF. They had to sub members.
They couldn't figure out
subs,
the reach.
Yeah.
They had subs obligatorily, yeah. And
they were also. I mean, the big thing about this Prosperity team is that they were in the 3-0 bracket, and then they just lost like 3 series in a row. Because of some tough matchups.
I think that this is a team that I'm like really high on. Like I casted them with Hummus yesterday, when they went up against Mint, and it wasn't.
Oh yeah, they basically FF to Conviction Star in the playoffs. That's what you mean.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah, they
Yeah,
basically did. So like their loss in the upper bracket is like with an asterisk, in my
But like
opinion.
a big
Like
one.
maybe like yes, obviously Conviction Star are like the second ranked team here, so like it probably would have been them winning anyway. But I am not. I don't think I'm breaking any new ground by saying Prosperity could have maybe taken a game off of them. And I think if that was a 2-1, people would be a lot higher on Prosperity. But because it was a 2-0, I think a lot of people are saying that this team kind of flies under the radar, probably has a ceiling, potentially is going to get knocked out by next week's opponent, which is Pookie Bears. And I personally don't think that's definitively going to be the case. I think Kongji is extremely good. I think that their mid laner being Foles as well is also really cool. Like I think Foles is actually quite good. He showed up last night, and I think that he has really good fundamental play, and is just overall like very extensive in his champ pool. So there's a lot I could say about this team in the wake of praise. And I think the biggest thing is that Kongji is handsome IRL because he was at CLOL finals. So
Very nice. Yeah, I would
So
echo that
biased.
point about Foles. Foles has impressed me. I really liked him subbing in on Citadel. We interviewed him after it was Citadel he subbed in on, right?
Yeah, it was the Citadel match
Yeah,
because he was for Bradley. I remember him saying that Bradley was the one that
yeah. So he
that
subbed in for
commended him and
Citadel
all that.
on stream, and we interviewed him afterwards. I liked his attitude a lot. I think,
Yeah.
it was.
yeah,
He's got a good head on his shoulders, real improvement focused, really wants
absolutely.
to I think he has not just like a passion for the game, but also like, what's the word I would use? He's he really cares about his success at like this event, and that's been very impressive to me. We spent 10 minutes on discussing this fucking stupid sentence that doesn't matter at all. But yeah, I'm a fan of Foles. I'm excited for how he's going to be able to do the rest of his team. I've
Okay.
derailed the entire episode over this.
Yo.
You guys have no idea how close I was to thinking of that word. Other series that are noteworthy here, I think this ends up mattering more later. Foxtrot takes a game against Pookie Bear in what is a sign of things to come, and we'll talk about that more in the lower bracket. And Deathmark Esport taking a game against Conviction Star. I mean, Conviction been one of our best performing teams here in ACL throughout the season so far, and Deathmark Esport, for those unfamiliar, is Karshiak, BB, Zephyrat, Docduna, and Gabex. It's a Quebecois team, is my knowledge.
If Slayer was on here, he would tell you the same thing. But we actually covered this team on Aegis for the Open qualifiers. They played against Gravity, and they looked actually really solid. Like Deathmark obviously lost the series because Gravity has like a plethora of extremely good players. But like this is one thing. Like BB in particular, I thought looked really really good. They were a team that just took a game off of Gravity, and I thought that was super cool. When really, I think the only player that I recognize on this team is Karshiak. I don't think I've seen anyone else's name on this roster. So yeah, I'm interested to see where these guys actually go, because I think that this is like a team of relative unknowns, and those are always really. Those always kind of get your eyes when they make upsets or even take games off of teams they're not supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. And they have a nice little lower bracket run as well. They did just get eliminated in a 3-game series yesterday, which we'll talk about shortly. But pretty good run put together by them there. We'll chat about upper quarters really quick, and then we'll get into these elimination matches that I think we'll go into a little bit more line by line. Citadel take a 2-0 over Next Level Esports. Did take a 2-0 over Apex Predators. Galaxy take a 2-0 over Pookie Bear. And Conviction Star take a 2-0 over Prosperity. I think all of these are largely expected results. They're all 2-0 results. So pretty clean sweep across the board for what I think are probably the 4 favorite teams for the tournament at this point.
Yeah.
Right? It's Citadel, Dig, Galaxy, and Conviction. They're our top 4 in the upper bracket, and I think they...
And I mean, 3 of these teams were in like the top 8/1 of them is actually going to be in the fucking promotion tournament. So
Yeah,
cool to see
and
that
I mean,
kind of, I think,
Conviction as
translation.
well is sending Matty Nightstar Pika Pika, right? That's 3
Yeah,
members
yeah.
of
Yeah, they have
Cupid.
technically
Cupid.
apart.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So the pipeline continues.
As always, ACL better than an ACL. Like OQs, but
Woo! Yeah. No, I mean, dude, I've gotten into debates about this, but like I really like this Citadel squad, and I hope that they make it into NACL. Like I hope that they win this as well to just prove to everyone that they are actually like kind of the real deal. Because I know that there's a lot of people that doubt players like this, because you look at names like this, you think that they should be doing a lot better. Like this should be a team that basically near airports this open qualifier, and they are not looking
So they're
necessarily
going to
as
finish
strong.
in 4th?
No, they're just gonna not lose a game. More so. But I mean, it seems like people aren't as high on these guys as I feel like they should be. So I am hoping that these next few weeks prove those people wrong, and that they actually look really solid if they make it into the NACL, because I think that these are names I want to see in Tier 2 again.
yeah,
for the record,
that's fair.
I think I got to settle on novelty as the word I was trying to think of, but it doesn't
Holy
seem right to
fucking
me.
shit.
No,
But
there's no way that's the word.
there's no
Keep
right.
searching.
But I think it can basically sub in for where I wanted it. That it's like there's like a novelty to success in this event to him, that it like he cares about it
I
more.
will
whereas,
say
like,
we
some
cannot.
guys, some of the more experienced players kind of just voted it at this stage. I just had to bring it up. I mean, I can't
will
just
say,
I
we
can't
cannot
have it sit
spend
here
all
with
that
myself.
time there like that and not find the actual word. Like
It's
now,
miserable,
it's kind of an
dude.
obligation.
It's kind of the
to
worst
find
thing
the
that's ever
the
happened to me
word.
a little
Yeah.
bit. Like it's kind of
Yeah.
it's really tearing
know,
me
trust-
apart right now.
I'm the same way, and that's how I know that that's not the word you're looking
I know,
for.
I
That's
know
just,
it's
Yeah.
not.
that's
It's
your
not.
word. That's like your placebo word to figure, like, for right now, I'm
To
buying
pretend like I
time.
found the word, yes, and move
Yeah,
on with
yeah,
my
yeah.
life. I know.
Trick
I'm
your
gonna,
mind. Trick your mind.
Sorry, I'm gonna
it's all
cry that one
done.
off later. We'll get into the rest of the lower bracket now, as we've settled onto the top 4. But yeah, I mean, I think those are the favorites for the tournament. So it will be very cool to see them start to face off against each other this Friday on the 6th. One of those will be on the Salt Mine. One of them will probably be on Aegis. I guess I'm not 100% sure on that. Maybe somebody will do an elimination match, but I would hope we could do some upper semis action. That would be a lot of fun. With that said, let's get into the lower bracket and talk about these elimination matches. We've lost 8 of our 16 playoff teams. In lower round 1, to start things off, Mint Gaming take a 2-0 over Uncles. Flippers take a 2-1 over Calamity. Foxtrot takes a 2-1 over Legacy in a big upset. And Deathmark take a 2-0 over UCI in what is another big upset. I want to start with Deathmark UCI, just because we covered that one on stream. And oh boy, UCI. I mean, I don't know what to say about this team. And
This team is so
Unlucky.
like, okay, on one hand they were about to like, they almost fucking.
Oh, and
made
also
it
we
to the
didn't do it on
promotion
stream.
tournament.
I'm imagining that. We did Calamity versus
Yep.
Flippers, but
Yeah, like on one hand they fucking they made it almost made it all the way to promotion tournament, and then on the other hand they just get instantly like incapacitated in ACL play. This team has no rhythm. They are just like these guys.
I've told everyone who like follows CLOL that like UCI is the KT of CLOL, to where you cannot get
Ooh.
excited about
Pretty
them.
much. Yep, I like that
Yeah.
comparison. I like that comparison.
You cannot get excited about them. And
No.
also, I was really You take Citadel to 5 games, and then you go down to lower bracket, and then they take Cupid to 5 games as well. I mean, like, you played 10
That
games
hurts actually.
and you don't make it. And I mean, I know these guys were really wanting to make it, and obviously, ACL run as well here. Like, probably you could say that those amount of games, the amount of games that they played over the course, may have taken some sort of mental toll. But they're all really strong
crash
players.
out of UCI. They crash out of ACL in the middle of that. Like they
Yeah.
have one 5-game series at the
Yeah.
highest level of Tier 3. Then they get beaten by Doc Duna Soraka Bot. And then they have another 5-game
No.
series at the highest level of Tier 3. back to
painful.
back
It's
to
painful.
back.
Yeah.
Days
Then
apart.
we have Helter Skelter for anteaters over here, but it's really tough, because you really think that they can be basically like if they were like a player of old, they would have been like the Chris of like tier 3, gatekeep kind of thing. Like they're the barometer. If you can go past this, maybe you can make it. But to have that kind of lull in the middle of two banger best of fives is just it speaks to lack of focus, possibly, or just lack of maybe care. When, as we were talking about with the Maryville Dark Zero thing, their priorities are somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
And maybe using ACL as a way to trying to get out of a funk, possibly from those best of fives. But yeah, don't get excited about UC either, KT.
Yeah, definitely feels that way. The other one, Foxtrot take a 2-1 over Legacy. I went back and checked this multiple times to make sure that Legacy were running their full roster. They were. These Foxtrot
This was shocking. This was shocking to me.
Oh yeah.
I felt like to everyone it was shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely. I mean, Legacy, they're running the full Dragoon Cross Command Attack Fotacon mixture roster, and yeah, I mean, this Foxtrot team, I think, with the benefit of hindsight, which we love hindsight because of how clear it is, the Foxtrot's just a legit team, dude. These guys,
Yeah.
they go on, spoiler alert, to 2-0 Apex Predators yesterday, and lock themselves into top 8. And they're just, I mean, their macro games have been solid, and they have very much impressed me in their individual laning as well. There's a point in Game 2 yesterday where they're just, all up individually in their lanes. And, some of them counterpick, some of them don't. But, Draven Baka / Smalls. He's played for the name Smalls, so I'm not sure which ID he's going by these days. But he and Light and Reset, I think, really impressed me in their 2-on-2. Draven Baka / Smalls in particular, really showing some fancy footwork at multiple points here, getting some really tight window dodges off. Aquanic I've been high on for a long time as his Slayer. This guy's really impressed me multiple times, but he puts Flocon in the dumpster. Great. I'm mostly going to talk about the Apex Predators series because it's one that I've watched. And Ember, FKA Maces, also does himself a really, really good job in the top lane. And this institutional guy in jungle, again, a player that I think most of us, not super, super familiar with prior to this split, also filling his role, doing a good job. They've got some unique picks, right? Especially its support, right? They play the Mel support a lot. They play a lot of enchanters. They play a little bit of Soraka here and there. 2 different Soraka teams, both finding upsets over these last couple of weeks of ACL playoffs. Aquanic's a big Vex guy. So, they have a couple of picks that are maybe a little bit off the wall, but by and large, I mean, they're playing regular League of Legends. They're just very good at it. They're really executing in a way that it feels like it's been a while since a team this disregarded did this well.
And I would say even more than to me, what impressed me more with them, more so than their individual skill, was their mid-game to late-game presence of mind. Because most situations, in the first game, for example, they were behind by quite a bit. And they more than likely should have lost that game, but they found multiple angles, plays, and ways of making the game just turn around that goes with both good movement and also realization of what they needed to do at the time. I think they played really smartly, and then just understanding their win conditions at the right time was really good by them. Something that, with a team that is mostly unknowns, apart from 1 or 2 players, it's surprising to see, and it's a positive outcome that comes out of this. Obviously, I would have liked to see maybe a little bit more of a contested series against Apex Predators, but the reality is that they played well enough that they deserved a 2-0, 100%.
Yeah. No, I think that this is a fun team to watch, that just we have a lot of players that we aren't super familiar with, and then they are just starting to kind of dick on everybody. I think that they're obviously a counter argument could be made that there's varying degrees, I should say, of seriousness when it comes to the ACL. And so you could have people being like, oh, well, Legacy might not have taken it seriously, or Apex might not have taken it seriously. But I mean, realistically, I don't think it matters, because I don't think who they beat was important. Just the fact that this is a team that is starting out and is able to find wins where they shouldn't, does, I think, a lot for the motivation for these guys to keep going and improving. So, I mean, this is how, this is how like wonders start. So I'm really hoping that the Foxtrot boys, like individually, maybe we see more of them as time goes on.
I kind of want to push back. I actually think who they're beating is why it's actually really fun, regardless of like, because like, yeah, I don't know if UCI was trying in those things like I had mentioned earlier, but like it's just like it's an idea. But like at the end of the day, when you lose, and when you and
Yeah.
who they're playing against to me is why it's actually really interesting. Like Legacy has 2 people on their team, or actually technically 3 people on that team who are going to be in the OQ promotion tournament, right? And probably, in my opinion, the best bot lane in that OQ promotion tournament of Boticon and Mixture. And then Foxtrot goes 2-1, and then they beat, kind of tier 3 or like almost tier 2 players in Apex Predators with that Cold Throw roster. Like these are.
I mean, that APR
these are
roster played as the guild in OQs and made a very deep run
exactly.
as well. Yeah, it's the exact same 5.
It's the exact same 5, and then they have the kind of similar thing to do against Next Level Esports coming up here, right? This is like the Robbie Bob Fiji kind of roster and stuff like that, which, is part, Galaxy or part Gravity, gaming and stuff like that. So it's like if they do beat this team, I think like this is going to be like, I think there's some worries from like people who yap doomerism to me all the time about no new names or no new people kind of like coming up, and like you just continue to see the same players over and over kind of qualify. But a team like Foxtrot is a team that I think anyone could get behind because of the people that they're beating. And if those other people aren't, taking it as seriously, well, tough shit, you lost.
Yeah. And I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but never been true, by the way. Like, it's been, as long as I've been a part of this scene for like 5 years now, never has there been like an actual split that goes by where nobody shows up that's new and
exactly,
exciting, and like even that Next Level Esports roster that we want to paint as like the veterans here. I mean, Fiji and All Calamity, who the fuck knew who these guys were 2 years ago, right? Like,
Fiji's been really, really impressive to me over the past year.
Yeah. And I mean, All Calamity as well. Like, this is his first real year playing. Very good stuff.
Orange support, baby. Let's go.
Orange support, baby. Yeah, no, I'm a big All Calamity fan as well. But, yeah, I mean, other than that, though, there's nothing too crazy that happened in lower R2.
Well, yeah, and so we didn't get through all of lower R2. So the other ones are, Prosperity take a 2 over Mint, Pookie Bear take a 2 over Flippers. And then, we mentioned the Foxtrot 2 over Apex, and Next Level Esports 2-1 over Deathmark.
This is not the same Mint as in OQs, right? They have one different player.
They have one different player. They don't have Ariana in OQs. Here they have Ariana.
On Dorado. And I will say, Ariana was definitely their best player in this series. I covered them yesterday with Hummus.
I don't think even the Mint guys would contest that Ariana's their best player.
Yeah, no. But like it didn't really make a difference. I feel like it was just a Kongji and Fool's gap, honestly. And then we had fucking LeBlanc support start Doran's Ring, which is impossible to do in regular games and only possible because custom games.
The secret tech, dude, the comp only tech of Doran's Ring support. You can't do this in solo queue.
Kongji DM'd me this morning and said, by the way, that was a mistake. So okay. So
I prefer to think of it as a comp only tech. I think that's much funnier.
Yeah, it would be a lot funnier. There's not a lot to say about this one. Mint just got like the gappage was real. I'm gonna keep it short and sweet because I know TDS has to go. So I'm trying to wrap up my points here.
TDS, you have any other points you wanted to make? I know you got to get out.
I was waiting to see if Quax. I was waiting to see if Quax had anything else. So to me,
that was my point.
To like close it out for my ideas, because I think the games were too decisive for me to take any other thing apart from like Foxtrot. Is that kind of the expected result happened? Only thing is surprising that NLE had to go like the extra game against Deathmark, I would say, but I'm expecting to be quite a good matchup between Foxtrot and NLE, particularly more so than the other one, just because Foxtrot now feels like an unknown quantity that is kind of known as well, because we have seen it, but at the same time, like, is this like a run in or form, like a particular form that is really good, or are they actually the real deal? Like, I feel like I would need one more to really be sold on them being able to call them the real deal.
Is it genius or grief? Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah.
I think that's as good a spot as any to end the episode on. So
Agree.
very, very nice. Well, we'll let you go, TDS. Doesn't seem like we're gonna pull in Slayer, so I think we'll round out the episode there. Sean, last word to you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Appreciated yapping with you. Anything you want to shout out? Anything you want to?
Shout out you guys for putting out this content. It's always well appreciated when I drive in my FedEx truck and I get to hear all y'all yap, and then I tell you how you were wrong, or before y'all correct yourselves, and then I realize you've already corrected yourself by the time I've made my statement. No, but seriously, love all this. Shout out Conviction, shout out Bach, shout out all the players, shout out Trashy. Make sure you support all of them. Shout out all the CLOL teams and my buds, and yep, just continue watching. We got ACL, we got promo tournament, and we got the rest of NACL playoffs. So that's about it.
Yep.
Good stuff, good stuff.
Right.
Well, Sean covered pretty much everything I was going to cover there. Make sure to tune into ACL this Friday. We'll have streams on the Salt Mine. We'll have streams here at 8 Eastern, as always. Once we start getting into best of fives, that'll start happening an hour earlier. I do think we will have one more Salt Mine out before we get into those best of fives, so I'll be able to remind you there, but definitely want to make sure to catch those. We'll be back next week to chat about promotion tournament, so don't worry, we didn't forget. We'll get back into things at that time. But until then, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will see you next time.